Probably like the coffee we're drinking here. You know, the smell of coffee is this unattainable ideal to which you approach asymptotically with making espressos and all kinds of things and hoping that someday this coffee will be as good as it smells. My name is Ladislav Hanka. I grew up here in Kalamazoo from the age of 5. My parents moved here from Iowa. My dad was a graduate student, and before that they were immigrants from Czechoslovakia. My wife Jana and I live in this house. We've been here for 20 years. The house that's famous for the wildflower meadow and the tall fence with the drawings on the front of it. And people wonder what goes on in that compound inside the fence. Well, now you get to see it through the eyes of the camera. Art has been a calling for me all my life. The vocation, you know, the way the Catholics use the word is an appropriate way, a calling. And I've been drawing as long as I remember. I've cared deeply about line. There's just the clarity of putting things down with line. The drawing is the underpinning of all visual art, in my opinion, and I've not strayed too far from it, really. I draw a great deal outdoors because I do believe that it's important to go back to one's sources. Much of my artwork is based around that kind of attitude that we are biological creatures, we inhabit a place on the face of this earth, we somehow need to interact with it, and the way you do that is by actually using the place you live in, not abusing it, but being truly a part of it. I find particularly noteworthy trees that are really beautiful, that have some kind of a soul to them. It takes me a while to find the ones I want to find. I keep revisiting them, walking around them. I'm reminded of, say, a beautiful poem by Czesław Miłosz where he discusses the old man, the old artist that no longer has the big ego, and he can't be bothered with people who just put a whole tree down with a single line. Too busy, modern details of life, you know, gotta get back to things, you know, time's a wasting, time is money and money is time. Well, it's just all wrong. When I set my diamond point to that copper plate, it goes down and it's convincing form. It has the right elements that you no longer doubt my authority. You know that I know what I'm talking about. At that point you can suspend disbelief and enjoy the picture for all the compositional reasons and all the weird stuff I do and all the manipulations and stylizations I might introduce that are not realistic. But I've already convinced you that I have the authority because I do. I really do. I've actually spent a lot of time with trees. Okay, let's do something different. Well, instead of my explaining it, why don't I show you? We're doing something visual. We'll do it in a way that actually communicates. So the etching process and how a print happens. Zinc plate. I tend to use zinc plates because they're less expensive and because I've grown to an age where my vision is diminished and I find myself wearing reading glasses and other such disgusting things that happen to people, and I see better on zinc plate. The whole underpinning of it is drawing. You know, I just get out and draw a lot. It's a matter of developing that facility with line and then taking what you can do with the drawing and multiplying the possibilities vastly with the tonalities that can be achieved through an etching. So I've spread the ink around. The ink is basically like oil paint, except it's a little more viscous, has more varnishes in it. And I've got it into all the recessed portions of the plate. I use various acids and engraving implements to cut away that, make grooves, cuts into the plate. And the ink is held in those grooves and cuts. And when I use a rag like this, starch, cheesecloth kind of a rag, I strip the surface ink away, and what remains is what's in the recessed portions of the plate, the grooves. So you can see that some of these kind of flat areas are starting to come out white. And I'll look a little more at it. I tend to leave a fair amount of surface film on it. Some people put a real crisp plate, strip everything off it, and make it real white. I tend to like to leave a bit of plate tone, which I think is an attractive look that an etching has. But I will typically just go in and use that surface film to its advantage and pull out highlights. You know, like for instance, I want this mushroom here, have that cap really brilliantly white. A little bit there. Now, this mushroom is somewhat the opposite of what I was telling you earlier about having a relationship to nature and eating from your local community, and that this is a mushroom that is popularly called a death angel. It's a brilliant white, beautiful mushroom on a very deeply etched black background that has a really pernicious way of killing people. It's probably one of the more common mushrooms that causes mushroom poisoning in the world. And the various toxins that are at work in this mushroom are long-acting. They tend to destroy your liver, so about the time that you actually get symptoms, it's way past too late to do anything about it. You're just gonna die. Pressure is part of it. You're impressing the surface of the plate deep into the paper and creating an embossment with it. And just the pressure pounds the pigment into the paper, but the dampness too allows it to be sucked into the depths of the fiber. So etching is different from other means of working with pigments and paper, that you can get a great deal of pigment actually into the paper. It's a way of just really taking these blotter-like papers and just pushing pigment into them. You get these beautiful, deep, velvety blacks that I find very attractive. So let's take a look at what the print looks like. And so I'm going to pull the paper off, and you'll see that it's all in mirror image, right? And you get that death angel and the bright whites there. Something like that, and this dreaming of being whole. I think we all have in our hearts somewhere this notion that we could be open and knowledgeable and loving, and it seems like somewhere it's reachable, and we're falling short. We all know we fall short, and yet the thing I try to concentrate on isn't necessarily that how much we've fallen short, but that still exists in each of us, and that one can't appeal to that.